I'm intrigued. The interview will be 5 to 7 minutes. Thank you. Richard's objectives as a talk show guest are to understand the dynamics of a television interview of a talk show, to prepare for the questions that may be asked, to present a positive image on the television camera, and to appear as a guest on a simulated television talk show. We are the audience. Godfrey's objectives: to conduct a successful television interview, to understand the dynamics of a successful television interview or talk show, to prepare questions to ask during the interview program, to present a positive image on the television camera. And a little bit about Godfrey, his bio. Godfrey has been a member for a whole year and enjoys distracting himself with the world of possibilities in Toastmasters. He is the VP of Membership, VP of Public Relations, and spends his time picking projects from as many different manuals as possible, just in case he finishes one of them.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Nash the Trash Show. My name is Godfrey Nash, and this is an opportunity to trash your role models from the past. Today, it is my pleasure to have a very special guest. He is a commanding presence all on his own, and certainly in the local Toastmasters community, as Vice President of Education of the Deltones Toastmasters Club and an area governor. It is my pleasure to introduce Richard Nash. Thank you. But before we begin,
yes,
I do need to clarify one matter for our listening audience about a common point of confusion. Even though there is obviously a big age difference between Richard and myself, and we share the same surname, Richard is actually not my father. Richard, good to have you here. Tell us about your...
Good to be
Tell us about your subject tonight.
Tonight, Godfrey, I wanted to share with you some of the past time. You know how when you were younger and you are so impressionable? There's a gentleman that's in our community that made a tremendous impression on me. And it's someone that we have in common, so I just thought that would be something fun to talk about.
Excellent.
Seeing as you're in the trashy business.
Yes, Trash the Nash. And who is this person?
When I was at school, the first impression I remember of him was he was a giant of a guy. One of those people who filled out very young. When I got there, I mean, I'm reasonably tall now, but he always seemed to tower above me. And the thing that made that more amazing was very few kids at school had their own cars. But it was just this really strange combination of having this giant of a school lad, first team rugby, first team water polo, and the car that he had, which was immaculate. It was a really racy sports car called the Black Widow, because it was a black sports car with a Black Widow on it. It was, bearing in mind he was large, it was a Mini. It wasn't just a Mini, it was a Mini with black tinted windows that were only knee high because it had a cut down roof.
And I imagine it must have had a sunroof to stick his head up.
No, I swear to this day, that's why he was prop in the first team. You know, they have no net. I think he was just
And what was your most enduring memory of Darren?
Well, that was kind of one of the goofier ones. I think probably from water polo. There's a few years between us. Not that my receding hairline would attest to it, but he was 3 years ahead of me, and I don't think he even knew I existed at school. I really don't. But we ended up on the same first team water polo. They needed cannon fodder to be in the goal, and I was in the goal. And I think he held the record for holding me under the water the longest without actually drowning.
Oh. And how was that for you?
Well, let's just say from that day until I bumped into him in Canada, I didn't say a word to him.
And how many years was that?
Goodness, 65 minus 18, too many for me.
Oh, that's too big a numbers, I can't work that out. So I understand that you also shared some interests in fishing and hunting. So who is the better fisherman?
Well, it's great part. Being outdoors where we grew up is fantastic. It depends on. No, it doesn't. Ask Darren; he'll tell you. He's caught the biggest fish and shot the biggest animals. There's no point arguing.
You know what'll happen if you do. Sorry.
And I understand that Darren is no longer bigger than you. Is that true?
Darren is no longer. Oh yes. Well, it's hard. It really is hard because no sooner have you caught something bigger than Darren, than he knows the rule book backward. He knows it so well that there's no point arguing. You'll come up there and you'll say that you caught a 10-foot sturgeon, and he'll tell you that he's caught one bigger with his teeth. He's always got one better than you. So at the moment, I claim to be bigger because he hasn't caught a 10-foot sturgeon, but I know that to argue with him would be pointless.
I see.
Yep.
And so what did you do during your, after finishing school?
What did we do after finishing school? Well, Darren and I did nothing together until we got here. But what's been interesting since we reconnected is, and this, all trashiness aside, I do take my hat off to him. I've gone one way, I went down a professional route. Darren has always just grabbed the proverbial bull by the horns. I mean, before he was 24, he owned his own 30,000 hectare ranch with 3,000 head of cattle. When he got, he's looked after the entire Australian cricket team as their security consultant over here. He does all sorts of wonderful things for ladies and self-empowerment with self-defense work and that sort of thing. He has an amazing young kid, Michael, who has all sorts of challenges with being deaf, can't swear, can't cry, has tear glands, and can't produce saliva. But the happiest little kid, and for a kid like that to be happy, Darren's got to be doing something right. So yeah, all trashiness apart, I'll take my hat off. Yeah.
And so, one last question in closing: was Darren a better student or a teacher?
Darren was a terrible student.
So what I understand then is that there's really
Darren
is definitely a better teacher then.
Yeah, you know how they say the exception proves the rule? The fact that he finished school was exceptional.
Richard, it's been great having you here today. I want to thank you on behalf of all of our viewers, and of course the aforementioned Darren is in the audience. And so we're going to have some special cameras set up in the parking lot after the show to capture what happens then. Richard, thank you very much.
For all those